0903, April 17th, 2025, Rednomics 980 hours of progress on the global horror simulation. Currently, the Z buffer has been enabled within the custom DirectX 11 render, which is beneficial as 3D objects with movement, such as rotation, can be rendered correctly with the triangles being drawn in the correct order at all times. And this was just as simple as defining a few depth components and then enabling some settings on them. There's actually a shortcut to doing that, which looking at the page for creating the depth stencil, there is a more complicated way to do it, such as setting up all the settings, but there was a tutorial online that showed how to do it through a video, how to do it through a shorthand method. So this is basically like a custom way of doing it through DirectX 11 internals that sort of lays out the default settings, and then one can just pass in whatever they want through the default and through specific things that need to be initialized, and set the other things manually. And so after that, the depth stencil is set within the pipeline, and just as a demonstration of what this looks like without having it enabled, this can be commented out, and this needs to be called with the depth set to no pointer, the depth stencil view, since it's not being used, and then of course it won't be cleared, so that needs to be commented out or else it will crash. And without that enabled, there's some visual errors, which is why it's important to enable a depth buffer, as some of the triangles are not being drawn within the correct order whenever the object is rotating. So re-enabling that by just adding back in the necessary functionality, and that should probably be commented out whenever that's not enabled or just removed. But anyway, adding that back in, it is working properly now. So the intention going forward is to look into loading a model with the texture correctly applied, or a model that utilizes multiple textures for multiple different parts of the mesh. And this model is being loaded using the ASAMP, which comes from a DirectX 11 tutorial, but a custom project was made to load a 3D model using the FBX SDK, which is a custom approach built specifically for this renderer. And so the intention is to load in the low poly model using a texture atlas, and try and see if just having the UVs and assigned to different parts of the texture atlas can just sort of bypass having to load in all different sorts of textures. So the intention is to like have an object such as this, but different parts use different textures, and so that would be the next project. Loading and rendering a low poly 3D model where different parts of the mesh have different textures.